Hello, I'm Richard Hill. What is mirroring hands? And why should I learn it? Well, in essence, it's both a practical therapeutic process and an approach to therapy that has emerged from the work of Milton Erickson and Ernest Rossi, and now me. Ernest and I have written a book together that is the basis for this workshop. Although Mirroring Hands has one foot in the history of therapeutic hypnosis, it's described by Rossi as hypnosis without the hypnosis. It's the natural state that emerges during focused attention, curiosity, and positive anticipation in what we call a therapeutic consciousness. Now, where this might be more difficult to create in some methodologies and protocols, Mirroring Hands seems to engage the client quickly and comfortably. It's both a brief therapy and also has the ability to open other therapeutic doorways that are perfect for the client. And I say this because it's the client that generates the process in a co-creative engagement with the therapist. We use the hands as an external point of focus and reception to differentiate the problem and the resolutions, the difficulties and the strengths, the past and the present, the pain and the resilience, and whatever it is you're dealing with. This gives the client both the opportunity and the self-awareness to bring forward things that even the most empathetic inquiry from the therapist might not reveal. The client is encouraged and supported to work with their own natural problem-solving and mind-to-body healing capacities. Most of us are aware of the standard training where the therapist is asked to determine the basis of the client's troubles and then implement a suitable strategy. We also learn through experience that the client needs to have a much more central role. Now, in Mirroring Hands, the therapist is trained to take this even further, to be highly observant and sensitive and client responsive. The therapist utilizes their knowledge and skills in response to the messages that come from the clients, their words, their emotions, their actions, and behaviors. No particular therapeutic model is suggested or planned, but all the therapeutic models, knowledge, and experience within the therapist are needed. They're there, ready to emerge as the client requires. In my experience of Mirroring Hands, clients have taken the process in many directions, sometimes changing directions along the way, even during a session. With some people, I found it makes sense to move towards CBT and work with their beliefs. Or for others, it's imagery or artwork. I've done musicology and play and narrative. I've desensitized through eye movements and other times through exposure, used metaphor, and even some unique forms that were created on the spot and have never been repeated. The most effective therapy, however, is when the client comes to a place where they can simply work quietly and privately, only needing the therapist to give them space and time, attention, support, and safety. In my experience, this private, self-generated work has been the most effective and permanent for the client. As Erickson said so many years ago, the task of the therapist is to return the burden of responsibility for effective therapy back to the client. The Mirroring Hands approach creates an observable connection between the explicit and implicit domains of the client, the conscious and non-conscious, if you will. This connection is evident in ideodynamic responses, which is often seen and felt as seemingly involuntary movements of the hands, but it can also be spontaneous feelings or thoughts or behaviors. This is where the therapist does their best work, in sensitive observation and creative, client-inspired responses. In the workshop, we learn the process, but in the same context that a pianist learns scales and techniques and set pieces of music on their journey to be able to improvise. We also learn the important concepts and foundational knowledge that lies beneath the process. We learn about how to think in complex systems, the natural cycles and rhythms that keep us healthy, and the unique language patterns of a client-responsive approach. Mirroring Hands is an ongoing developing approach and practice from Ernest Rossi and myself. It's clearly from an Ericksonian history, but it's the sort of place where Ernie and I believe that Erickson methods might now be if Erickson was still with us. This is what I bring to the workshop and what I share with you. Please join me. It will be like no other workshop experience you've ever had.